3, 2, 1. That worked. Kind of clipped it. Oh well. Cool. You want to do the intro? Want to do the clap sync?
Sure, I can.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Andrew Samuelson with Ben Ames here. We are here talking a little about being a musician with a day job. Yeah, so we've got some things we want to talk about. I guess let's start off like how we found music and why it's important to us.
Yeah. So, just like any other kid, I did piano lessons,
Yeah,
as
me
a
too.
kid. And not gonna lie, I hated it.
Oh, yeah. At the start, it was the worst.
Oh, yeah. Because it was just like, all those little, like, childish, kind of gimmicky songs. And I wasn't for it,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was for it whenever I'd go to those, like, festivals and be, like, a little diva show-off and, like, ooh, look at me. I can play piano.
Yeah.
But, like, other than that, it was just, like...
Like, in elementary school, like, I was the bomb in my music class. I was good. And I remember my parents would make me practice, like, about half an hour a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I would, like, cut it down to, like, 20 minutes as many times as I could.
Right,
I'd be like, I'm done, and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I remember there being a point a few years after I started piano lessons where it started getting fun.
Okay.
Like, I just started, like, instead of it being a chore and having to practice every day, I would find music that I would really enjoy playing, and then I would just play that and practice that. And that's when it switched for me.
Right. So for me, actually, I just kind of... So being a military brat, I moved a lot.
Right.
So I moved from Virginia to Germany, and for the year and a half that I lived there, just didn't take any piano lessons, right?
Mm.
Just wasn't something I was interested in. And then I moved then I moved from Germany to Oklahoma, and it was there I had to choose between, I think it was band and a computer science class.
Ah.
And I was like, I don't want to take a computer science class.
Yeah.
Like, I know how to type.
Right.
I'll take band. Now, at this point, I didn't know what band was. I thought it was literally a rock band situation. And...
Boy, were you in for a twist.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I'll play drums just like my dad. And they look at me and they're like, no, you're going to play trumpet. And I was like, okay, all right. And let me tell you, for the first 2 years I played trumpet, I was the absolute worst.
Yeah.
But slowly after that, after I got kind of reintroduced to it, begrudgingly, I kind of started falling more and more in love with music.
Yeah.
I went from kind of doodling around with the trumpet to picking up the piano a little bit more. I think it was after the 9th grade, I started doing theater, and then choir followed, and it just kind of started with a very stupid decision that made me go head first and fall absolutely in love with it.
And I've always been a choir guy. And I kind of wish I joined band to learn some other instrument besides voice and piano. But growing up, I was always like in theater and in choir and stuff.
Right.
I was in my first production in the 5th grade. I was Winthrop in The Music Man.
Okay.
At my brother's high school, and that was my first experience with theater and performing and whatnot. And that was really how I got started. But of course, music is way prevalent in my family. My grandfather was an opera singer and professor of music at Indiana University for 30 years.
Okay. Yeah.
Fantastic guy. He passed away a couple years ago, but and now I'm the most educated in music in my family, and so if they want to look to me for music, they have to look to me, which is a little weird, being 20 years old and a leader in music for my family.
That's way cool. In my family, my dad is pretty musical, except we've got 2 very different styles of music. So he is the very kind of like hard rock, metalhead.
Right.
He got an 8-string guitar recently, and he just loves shredding on that thing, right? And don't get me wrong, like growing up around that as a kid, like I've got such an affinity for bands like Iron Maiden, Linkin Park.
Right.
And so
I think we all had a phase like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like
I know I did in like 9th grade.
Yeah, emo 7th to 9th grade.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But as I kind of grew older, my taste has kind of shifted from that and like hard classic rock, metal, to more. It went to pop for a phase. I was really into like Philip Phillips and kind of more folky stuff.
Yeah.
To theater, to jazz, and now I'm kind of in this weird funk phase where
That's where I'm at. I'm between like jazz and funk right now, and it is just the most fun phase that I've gone through.
Absolutely.
It is so groovy, and I like. There's a couple songs that if I just listen to, I get a hard stank face when I'm listening to it. And I just have to like move my head and move around, and it's great.
You know, it's crazy. There's just some songs, you know, that will literally move you, not just emotionally, but like
make you like get up and dance and stuff.
Like even if it's just tap your foot or like tap your hand, it's crazy how music has that effect on us.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's such a shame. Here, excuse me. I think that's why it's such a shame that, you know, a lot of people see music as this I either make it or I don't kind of thing. Have you, like, ever seen that as just me being crazy, or?
No, I've seen some like that. Not too many specific examples that I can think of right now, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, it's weird, you know? Because we're in college for music. Like, we're studying music.
Right.
But does that take any value away from the people who just have, like, a little setup in their garage? And,
right.
You know, like, my dad, he's got this whole little setup. And he's been setting up for maybe 10, 15 years, just accumulating drums, guitars, microphones, all that jazz. And why should my experience going to a music school and looking for a like kind of career in music be any more valuable than his experience in music?
Right, and it shouldn't. I mean, it's two very different approaches, I think. My brother, one of my brothers, wants to pursue like musical theater and stuff, and I've really been encouraging him to go to school, and he's kind of been back and forth about it for a while. I think he wants to now, but like some people are just naturally really talented with that kind of thing, and maybe school isn't necessarily the right thing for them. But I think there's such a value in being able to learn and grow in an educational environment like this. I know I've improved a ton as a musician since I've been here.
Absolutely.
Just in the past couple semesters, I think my musicality and particularly my voice has become a lot more adaptable to different styles of singing. Right.
See, I wish I took choir here. Because I find myself in an interesting predicament while singing. Because, you know, I grew up choir and theater, right? Two very different styles of singing. Choir, it's more kind of, you know, not back in the throat kind of, but you'll have, you know, just kind of more, I don't know, just kind of, I'd say this kind of direction with just ever so slight amount of front.
Right.
Theater, it's all front.
Oh,
it's all nasal, it's all E.
Yeah, I feel that, yeah.
And so I find this, I'm in this weird place vocally right now where I'm having a hard time finding the true tone of my voice.
Right.
Because sometimes I want to sing like more choral-like.
Right.
And sometimes I want to sing more nasally-like. And I'm sure my roommates hate me because I'll just be sitting there in front of my microphone going, trying to find the perfect tone.
Yeah,
you know?
and like resonance and stuff.
Yeah.
Something that I really struggled with for a few semesters was primarily I've been in a jazz choir here on campus, and it's been wonderful. I've absolutely loved it. But at the same time, I've been taking like classical voice lessons from teachers, and and it was really hard for me to be able to take those two very different styles of singing and apply what I've learned from both to the other. And so for a while there, I was just kind of in this limbo of not being able to sing either very particularly well. And it sucked. But I think just this past semester, I was in the collegiate singers, which is classical singing. And I was able to apply everything that I've learned in the classical lessons I was able to apply that every weekday.
Okay.
And
nice.
so it really helped me figure out my classical voice. And then on the side, I've just been like having fun and like scatting and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun. I've the technique that I learned from the classical singing is absolutely applied in this jazz choir that I've been in, and it's really helping me figure out my voice and being able to again like adapt to these different styles of singing.
Right. Yeah. So we're both songwriters.
Yeah.
Right. How would you say, like, from all like, how would you say your experience with music has affected the way you songwrite?
Oh, I never was really, not that I didn't like jazz before I came here to school, but in high school I hadn't really had that much exposure to it.
Yeah.
And so after I came here, I think after being in a vocal union, the jazz choir, a lot of my thoughts musically have become more jazz-like in a sense, and so I've been experiencing a lot more of that in my compositions and stuff.
Okay.
And some more funk along with that too.
Yeah. So like when you sit down at a piano or at a guitar, what's the first thing you usually do? Is there like a certain method you've got, or do you just kind of like noodle around until you find a little gold nugget?
A lot of what I've done with my compositions and songs and whatnot has just been like messing around with different chords, seeing what works, and having gone through the music theory classes, that helps a lot more to experiment and whatnot.
Oh, absolutely.
And then I also understand what I'm doing on the piano and stuff. So I usually just mess around for a little while and see what I like and different progressions and whatnot. And when I find something that works really well, I try to elaborate on that and see what I can do. And it usually works pretty well for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I was watching this channel, Quarter Digital, and one of the co-directors on there, he's also like the film score that like works for them. And he released an album a little while ago, and he was talking about like how he approached it, and it was something I really liked. He was talking about how he would find these little ideas that he really liked, and he'd come up with, and it was 85% inspiration, where he was like, okay, I've got an idea for this part, and this part. And then, excuse me, the last 15% engineering, right? And I think that's why music theory is so important, right? And don't get me wrong, you can do so many things without knowing music theory. Like the Beatles, I'm pretty sure, wasn't there one of the Beatles that just didn't know how to read sheet music?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't know if that's one of those like Facebook facts.
I think Ringo taught himself how to play the drums.
Okay.
And that's why he played a little weird and would lead with the left hand and stuff.
Gotcha. But yeah, that's why music theory is so important to me, because not only the more music theory I know, the easier it is to noodle around and find more interesting ideas like that.
Right.
But when I've got all these separate ideas that I can't necessarily connect with inspiration, that's when the engineering part comes in and says, oh, I can connect it using this, that, and that.
Right.
And then, what people I don't think realize is songwriting is not all inspiration.
No.
You don't just wake up and suddenly you're like, oh, look at that. I've got a full 4-minute song.
Right.
Verse, bridge, chorus, and it's ready to go.
Yeah. I was talking to my dad the other day before I came back to school here, and I was just saying how I kind of have needed to switch my mindset about music, because while I still love music and everything, I need to think of it more as work as I continue more and more, because that's what it's going to be for me. And so I need to be able to just like put it out when I need it to. Yeah. And also like with writing music and stuff, with the inspiration and stuff, there's been very few times, it's been a weird experience for me. Very few times I have actually heard music like in my own head. Like there was one night I was falling asleep and I heard like these soprano voices like coming from like the heavens or something and like singing this line, and I was like, what is this? I've never heard this before, and I was too tired to write it down, and I forget it now, and I'm so mad at myself for not writing it down, because it sounded so beautiful, and it doesn't happen too often, but it does happen.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why having your music accessible is a big thing.
Yeah.
I found, so I take my laptop with me pretty much everywhere I go,
Right.
like to work, home, and during my days off, I'll plug it into my studio and it'll
Right.
be there. But when the days I'm not working, one of the things I wanted to do, because I work nights, wake up early in the morning
Right.
and just noodle around on my piano and just do some things, right? Well, with my laptop not there
Right.
and in my bag, it's so dumb. But that little extra step of just taking my laptop out and plugging it into my interface and like setting everything up has been so detrimental
Yeah.
to my creative process. And I'm thinking, if I just had it accessible, right? Then what excuse would I have?
Right.
I'd probably still find a way to be lazy.
Oh, absolutely.
But,
I think we all can do that. I think it's so important to, whenever I have an idea, to just record it on my phone. Because then I can, if I'm in a moment where I actually am feeling inspired to work on music, then I can go back and look at what ideas I've had.
Right.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, but stay tuned for part 2, which we will have eventually.
Eventually. We may even be in the same clothes. Who
Main-
knows?
so close, who knows? Anyways, thanks for listening with us,
Yeah.
and have a great day.
Peace.